there, my name is Rashi. I believe we all have had an incredible journey in life. Here on this podcast, I will be sharing the lessons I have learned along the way and will also have guests from all walks of life to have open and honest conversations with on issues and topics that affect us in our everyday life. I hope you will be part of this beautiful tribe. So let's begin.
Yeah.
Hi guys, you are listening to Let's Be Rational with me, Rashi. Today we have another amazing episode, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by a dear friend who has some really amazing topics and insights to share with us. Before I begin, I just wanted to quickly highlight that the aim of this podcast is to open up conversations on taboo topics, social issues, and give people a voice and inspire others through their journeys of hardships, struggles, and whatever it is that makes them who they are today. So today, my guest is my dear friend Marco Enrique Trujillo. Hi, Marco.
Hi, thank you.
Um,
Hi.
he's living in Finland right now, and he's joining us from Finland, which is amazing. I met Marco in Bali, and we also did an episode, and we covered spiritual awakening in that episode, and we talked on so many other related topics. But the one that really, something that actually we didn't dive into was like the cold water and how much effect and impact it can have on our bodies. So that's one interesting topic that we'll be talking about. The interesting thing about Bali was that I remember I was in a sauna, and Marco was doing a cold water dip over there, and it was just amazing because I knew instantly that there was something like different about this person. And then when we got chatting, I realized that you had so many interesting things to share on like your spiritual healing and what you were going through. And so what I know, if I'm right, is that Marco has been on a spiritual healing journey for more than 8 years or so. And he also delves into the practice of Ho'oponopono and is a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner. Now, Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness. And we discussed this practice at length in an episode that we did last year that we talked about. And I'll make sure that I link that episode down below. So today, Marco is here to share with us some very important practice and learnings he has had over the years. So we will be talking about what this entire world is talking about right now, the Wim Hof method, the Wim Hof's breathing technique. And he is actually he's the Iceman. He's commonly referred to as Iceman, and we'll talk more about him as we go into this further into this conversation. We will also discuss cold shower, as it is linked to Wim Hof's ultimate methods of boosting immunity. And apart from that, we will also be talking about how to master our own sexuality and how we can reclaim it. Don't worry, Marco is here to simplify all these concepts for us. And then we might also briefly touch upon Enneagram Personality test that he has been reading about and practicing, and we can get a more deeper insight into personality types through his understanding. So, hi Marco, welcome to this podcast. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, nice to see you and honored to be a part of your video and podcast now. Yes. Awesome. Very interesting topics, I think, as well. I'll do my best. I'm just going to share, from my experience. That's it. Yeah.
No, the way, because I remember when we last were chatting on the Zoom, forum, I remember you touched upon these things, and I was just like, I was so fascinated. I was like, this is what, people have been talking about. And the fact that you have been practicing Wim Hof's breathwork for over 2 years, is just incredible. And I would really like you
Yes.
here to take away from me and then talk about how you got into this practice. And it's actually a very incredible story. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so it was 3 years ago when I was visiting in San Francisco, California, which actually also is directly related to my first spiritual awakening that happened 17 years ago. And I got to revisit that place all these years after. So 2017, I was back in California, back in San Francisco, where it all for me started in the spiritual realm, really the peak there. And it was amazing, that experience. That is, I'm sure, another story in itself. But this time when I was there, I connected with some beautiful, amazing people. And I was there with my son and my ex-girlfriend at the time, or we were together at the time,
Yeah.
and so we met these amazing people that we already had contact with, through cyber connection, or what do you want to call it, because they're holistic practitioners, amazing pioneer people. So we got into contact with this Dr. Edith. She's lovely, one acquaintance. So we were welcomed into her home, and we went there, and we were visiting there. And she was talking about the Pranic festival that she had organized 2 years prior. And it's amazing, when you're with people that are our same interests, or someone you connect with on a soul level. It's always so, like, cherished moments. And then she shared about, she's like, yeah, the Iceman was there, have you heard of him? And I had heard of him, but just the name and something about some world records. And she's like, yeah, he was there, and at the festival. And so she started talking about Wim Hof, and that she became friends with him. And yeah, so she shared a bit her own, like, story on that, and she inspired me to get into the Wim Hof method. And she's like, you really got to look into this. And I was like, yeah, it sounds really cool, but I'm busy with life and busy with my own things and many other practices. As time went on, but other people kept coming up. Some old friend showed up, and he started doing this method. I was like, okay, what is this? Kind of the universe is giving you more signs to look into this. And then eventually it came also from my dear friend who's in Australia, that I follow his teachings and his sharings a lot. I consider him a teacher, my teacher. But so when he said it, I was like, okay, this now that's like the final straw there. I have to look into this stuff. And so I did. And I immediately fell in love with the method. It was just right up my alley.
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing. Um, so the interesting fact that I found about Wim Hof breathing method uh,
Mm,
was the fact that in 2011, a medical research center in Netherlands um, took him under his wings as part of an experiment and injected him with endotoxin, which is kind of like a dead bacteria. It's
yeah.
not harmful, but if it's injected in certain doses, it can actually make you severely sick for like a few hours, like instantly. But
Yes.
when I think Wim Hof was injected with endotoxin for a considerable amount of days, and I think the experiment went on for a couple of months, he
Yes.
literally, his blood tests showed no signs of him being affected by it. I think it was like very minor effect, but there was literally like he got a little bit of headache, but that's it. He didn't feel sick.
Mm,
His
mm,
immunity was perfectly fine, which was, the scientists said that that has never happened before in the past.
mm,
And that's what made him really famous. And he was on TV shows doing amazing tricks that he does, like a circus man, like with a lot of ice. He's just like goes
yes.
into this whole container full of ice, and he stays there for
Mm,
like I don't know how long, and he still is okay. So I think that was something that was really interesting about his breath work. And he has
yes.
also gone on record to say that if in the future, because that's what the medical community, the scientific community is saying, that viruses and virus outbreaks are going to happen in the future. It's not something, this is not the last time that we're having
Yeah.
a certain kind of virus. And Wim Hof
Mm,
has gone on record to say that in the future, if we really have to, build up our immunity and prevent or just keep us safe from these viruses, this sort of breath work can go a long way in preventing us from being affected by the virus. Well, this is what I'm not saying that this is true, false, whatever it is, but apparently his breath work actually works for a lot of people. Of course, the virus
Yes.
is still, it can be transmitted. But what he says that doing the breath work can actually help you prevent that virus affect your respiratory system to like a really
Yes.
bad extent. So yeah, tell me more about the breath work, like what it is.
Mm.
Like I don't know exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to share my own experience and understanding. And I've been also practicing angelic Qigong, which I'm the founder of. And Qigong has been something that's been part of my life since that 17 years ago when really it opened. So breathwork has been like something part of my life. And when I did this Wim Hof method, it just, for me, it was a really effective way to get a lot of oxygen into my whole system, oxygenate my organs and alkalizing my blood, and kind of like you're getting taking control of your nervous system, so that you be more in the parasympathetic, or you can actually choose depending on what you want to do with this method. But basically, I've only been practicing the basic, and it's free. So anybody who wants to look it up, Wim Hof, he has an app. You can download the app, and he just teaches you all the basic stuff for free. So I've been practicing the basics these past 2 years diligently. So basically for me, what it's done, it's helped me in my healing process, because as I shared with you when we had the talk last time, at the age of 2, they diagnosed me with stage 3 asthma. So I had chronic asthma growing up, and also atopic dermatitis like eczema and stuff. And it was genetic. All my life, they told me like basically that this is genetic, you won't go away, you'll have this for the rest of your life. And there was the time when I was living on medicines, like asthma medicines every day, just to get by. So for this method has just took me to the next level when it comes to having a stronger immune system, taking control. It's like your mind, you're using your mind to take control over your body and enhancing like everything in your immune system. And like you said, the respiratory system as well. Because since I started practicing this, like I said, 99% cured from that stage 3 asthma, which was so severe. I
That's
don't need to use any
amazing.
medicines anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that only that's Wim Hof method, but it was a big part of it, as well as everything else that I do, because obviously it's like a holistic approach to the healing arts. You have to look into every single aspect in your life and then get like a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
So with the breathing, it reduces stress. It enhances performance, in whatever I want to do, martial arts, sports, or things like that. Mental clarity, much clearer, because you literally, when you do these exercises, you're filling yourself up. And also someone shared that you may also produce more DMT in your pineal gland, which is your
Mm.
third eye. So all this enhances your awareness, your focus, here and now.
Wow, that's incredible. Just the fact that just your breathing can help your so many of your diseases and problems. That's incredible. And
Absolutely.
did you want to show us like what this breath work actually entails? What does it include? Like how exactly are you supposed to do it? Just to give the listeners or viewers an idea of you
Yes.
know what it is all about. What is
Yes.
this Wim Hof method?
Yes. So it's the breath work is one part of it, and then the cold exposure that you talked about is another part of it. And then some kind of yoga or stretches he shares and stuff like that is also part of it. And then, committing to it. And I have committed to the practice since I started 2 years ago. I've been very diligent every day. And yes, I can definitely show. And I would also love to share a little bit on my understanding with the breath and in what I've learned in the holistic arts, healing arts, and spirituality, that the breath is literally your intuition. So breath awareness is something that I've practiced for many, many years. And there's also heartbeat awareness, but that's another topic in itself. So your breath is what connects your life to superconscious, or if some people call it the spirit, whatever you want to call that. So
Yeah.
with your breath awareness, you're always in your intuition. And if you're not aware of your breath, then you're in your mind and you're not in your body. So again, the body awareness is so important because when we focus in on our body and in our breath, we're literally giving energy to our cells, giving energy to our body. And this enhances our whole system, you know? So Wim Hof method then is a combination of, as far as I understand, a combination of the pranayama, these kind of yogic practices of breath, which are super powerful, and also this kind of free diving. So it's almost like we're hyperventilating, but consciously hyperventilating. We're taking in as much air as oxygen as possible, and then we release. We don't release 100%, we just release. We don't push out, we just release, and then we take another big, huge 100% in. And we keep like charging like this for 20, 30, 40 times, and then we release, and then we hold our breath. And then when we've held our breath for about maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute, or some people push it to do a bit longer, and then we take another big one in, and that's when you really start to feel it. And then you kind of want to squeeze that up so it goes up to your brain as well. So it's very important to do this lying down, especially at first, or sitting, depending on you know, just to be safe when you do this, because you could get a bit dizzy or you could get like this kind of experience.
Oh, wow.
Especially if you do the 30 once. Yeah.
Okay. So
So you want to try?
you want to try it? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we could try it.
Okay.
I want to do it like, so of course, again, I do it and I do it a little bit my own touch to it. So I just wanted us to start off a bit slow. So for everybody who is going to join us in the breathing exercise, I want you to slow down and just kind of set your mind and body, just set the intention that now we're going to do this breath work, this Wim Hof method or supernatural breathing, whatever you want to call it. You just start to just slow down and be in your body. And before we go into the more intense one, you can just close your eyes and pay attention to your body. Pay attention to what's going on inside the body. Maybe there's sensations, feelings, and let everything be. Everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. And just notice and become aware that just by closing your eyes, you feel, it's subtle, but you feel a little bit more relaxed. And notice your breath. At first, you don't have to do anything with your breath, just become aware of your breath and your heartbeat if you're able to. There might be some emotions there, that's okay. Just be aware of your breath and welcome everything that's here. And from this space, I want you to just take one deep breath in and then hold it. Notice the silence, just relax and then release. Exhale. Take one more deep breath in and hold it. One more deep breath and hold it. And ideally, we want to breathe the diaphragm, you know. But for the sake of this, like if you want to breathe with your mouth open or with your nose, as far as I remember, Wim Hof, he says it doesn't really matter. He just wants to get so much oxygen in you as possible. So now let's go and do it. Let's go ahead and do 20 rounds. So what we're going to do now is we're taking full breath in, either with your mouth or your nose, and then release. And then again, full in and then release. And we keep going and get a rhythm, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. Starting now, breath in. It's okay if it comes up through the chest. I'm going to show you with the breath open with the mouth. As you relax and hold your breath. Become aware of the silence. And then take another deep breath in and hold it again. And release after 10, 15 seconds.
Wow.
Hi.
I felt a bit dizzy.
Yes,
A little bit.
that's
Like,
normal.
um,
Yeah, tingling, dizzy.
yeah,
It's all
like
normal.
feeling dizzy a little bit, not much. I could hold
Yeah.
my breath when I was exhaling. I think I could hold it for like, I think we held it for like 25, 30 seconds, 20.
Yeah, 25, 30 seconds. Yeah, just for the
But,
sake of the experiment. Yeah.
and when I inhaled, I couldn't hold it for much longer.
Yeah,
Where,
it's only about 10 seconds after. And you want to kind of like, I shared this a little bit with you last time, that kind of want to squeeze the fluid, the body fluids from your lower chakras or lower regions all the way up into your brain. But it takes practice, you know, and
yeah,
that's something I've incorporated. But
it is.
just to oxygenate the brain as well.
Yeah, it
Just
is very
activate it.
refreshing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, you feel the activation of it, you know,
Yeah.
and we just did maybe 20 breaths, somewhere around there. And usually what we do, the basic one is 30 times 3. So you do 30, and then, you know, when that's one round, then
Yeah.
you start immediately do another round, and then again. So when you've done 3 of 30, you feel very refreshed.
So should it be done every day or just for like every day
Yes,
time?
every day. Commitment every day. That's the commitment. Yes,
Wow,
absolutely.
amazing.
And I do that, like I shared, I do it, you know, many times, 2 to 3 times per day, maybe sometimes more. It depends on the day. But I usually, what I do is that when I wake up in the morning, I lie there in bed and I start doing it. I
Okay.
set my intention for the day, and then I start doing the breathing. That's basically the first thing I do.
That
And then
is
I come up from
insane.
bed.
That is incredible, Marco. Thank you for sharing this breath work. I think it will be so useful for people who are listening or watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
So
That'll be fun.
the second important element of Wim Hof's method is cold water dipping or ice water dipping or cold showers.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me more about this because I tried to do cold showers for like 15 days. I
Mm.
remember I could do it for like 13 days. And out of those 13 days, some days I did, mix in some lukewarm water I just couldn't, like, because it was cold. I just didn't want my body to go through that pain because it's painful and it makes you really gasp for breath. You feel like you will die. Like it literally felt like that to me. So tell me more about it and how. I know I'm not saying that it's going to get easier if you keep doing it. Maybe it gets easier. You can probably reflect on this better, but how to make people understand that, or people like me who are like really reluctant to try this or to keep doing it for long, like
Yeah.
how are you going to convince me and people who are not willing to do it or try it?
Yes, that's true. Well, one of the things that I really enjoyed someone shared is like when you can do that, you feel like you can conquer anything. So if you want to be successful in life or with whatever something, if it's like a mind over body thing. Like it's not actually it's you over your mind as well. Like you're literally taking control over your mind and body to do such a thing, so it's beautiful. So I mean, I'm not so much in the convincing business, but like to inspire those that are ready, that those that are ready, willing and able to do this, because it feels amazing though afterwards, at least for me. That's how I feel. Especially I feel that like if I can do that, then like I can take on the challenges in life. So it's very much a mental strengthening exercise as well,
So
and it boosts you.
what does it exactly do to your body when you do it? Like what physically happens in your body when you actually when you take a cold shower?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic, and obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of science, behind this. I can share only my understanding, my experience. So obviously, I started off like just with like the 30-second. You start off, you don't want to shock your body too much either, so you go like slowly. So you start like maybe 30 seconds of the cold. So what I did first is a little bit cold and then colder and colder, but they recommend about 2 minutes will give you the benefits, on your lymphatic system, stimulating that. There's some science talking about stimulating brown fat burning, and also like different hormones in your body start to produce, obviously because your cardiovascular system is starting now to protect your whole organs and everything, so you go into that kind of, it's a type of stress really, but it's more of a positive stress because you're doing it consciously, you're doing it. So the emotional part I think is also one thing to get over, because when you're in there, like you said, you want to gasp for more air. But then again, with the breathing exercises, you're going to feel that much more easier for you to take control over like that part of your brain and your subconscious, so that you can relax even during such a stressful environment. That's the whole point, I feel, with the cold, because it also brings you into the now. You don't stand in the cold and think about your worries and about your bills and about your
Yeah.
stuff. You're standing in the cold
Cold, yeah.
here and now, and it trains you. It really trains you on so many levels to take on the challenges of life, and you feel so present and so alive. I mean, when we're comfortable in our sofa or whatever, eating our favorite snacks or whatever, it's not the same as when I go out into the lake there and -10 or whatever, and I jump straight in. I'm alive, my whole system is pumping blood, pumping everything, adrenaline and everything to keep me alive,
Yeah.
So it gives that kind of rush
Yeah.
of enhancement in your system and in your mind.
Um,
Yeah.
Marco, tell us about your experience in Finland. Like how you were telling me, like it's a practice in Finland to go swimming in
Yes.
ice water or something like that. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
share it with us, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's called Avanto here, and basically it's in our culture. And I think not only here, many cold regions, I mean, Canada and Scandinavia and stuff. But here in Finland, we have the sauna. So it's kind of like a tradition here. And a lot of people do it. We have a beautiful lake close to where I used to live down south. And there they have the old school smoke sauna that takes 5 hours to heat up. It's really old school, and it gets like it's like 100 degrees in there,
Oh,
Celsius,
yeah.
and then you have the ice, so you have the extremities. And again, this really trains your whole cardiovascular system, your lymphatic system, because you go from one extreme to another extreme. It's like a physical exercise. It literally is, because afterwards you feel it like everywhere. So we have this here that we open the lake. We get sometimes -20, depending on. We've had quite mild winters now, but we have really cold. So what we do is we open up the lake and we make a hole, and people go in and take cold dips. And it's
Insane.
again, it's amazing. It's amazing because it's a meditation. You learn how to relax in the most stressful environment. And I think that's one of the biggest things that this Wim Hof method does, is that it reduces stress. You cause a positive kind of stress, but you do it consciously. So then that stress is good for you because it trains you to get stronger and stronger all the time. And it reduces inflammation to be in the eyes also, and stuff like that.
Wow. Incredible. Thanks for sharing that.
It's a lot of fun. I have one video, I think, on my TikTok when I go into that beautiful lake there in nature.
Yeah, I love your TikTok videos. They're very interesting.
They're just
um,
some fun.
Um, let's move on from this topic to a very different topic. But I want to talk to you about this because it's very hard to find people that you can actually talk about when it comes to sexuality and mastering your sexuality. Because I think that's something that you have been reading about and practicing and have, you know, some amazing things to share with us. So you talk about reclaiming um, sexuality and what it actually means. What does sacred sexuality mean? And if you can just elaborate on that and what amazing things that you have to share with us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So again, just sharing my understanding and my experience with this, and what it means to me, sacred sexuality, is just to bring the spiritual aspect into sexuality. And what that means to me, spirituality essentially means to know myself and to be
Yeah.
myself and to be myself to my highest potential. And first, I need to know myself, and that is something deeper for me. That's actually, one can do a little bit of a short experiment, even if one were just to close one's eyes and say, how can I know that I'm here in this moment? And then, well, because I exist. So that feeling of I amness, we all share. It's a truth that everyone shares, you
Yeah.
know, indisputable. I exist. And that's for me is the essence of spirituality. And from that point, then to be aware of this, that's conscious awareness. And then bring this conscious awareness into every aspect of my life, including my sexuality. That's sacred sexuality. So to live in a way that honors this I amness, because this I am is so, it's pure, it's innocence, you know. And we grow up as we're innocent, and then we get programmed from our culture, programming from our parents, from TV, media, all this kind of stuff. So, and as we know, most of that is a human conditioning that doesn't maybe honor that innocence, that purity, that I amness. You know, that's why it was, oh, look at children, like be like a child, you know, they're so full of aliveness and joy and love and purity. But at some point when we, you know, we grow up and become sexual beings, which is natural, we get a lot of distorted views on that, a lot of imprints that for me, I realized was a false reality. It wasn't honoring my true sexuality. That's why I call it sacred sexuality. And yeah, there's a lot of programs, like I shared a bit with you already, like being exposed to a lot of sex and porn, you know, quite early on. And, you know, this kind of program seemed normal because everybody, you know, in my
Just watching it,
circuits,
consuming it.
we're
Yeah.
into this, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
we're into this kind of stuff, you know, especially with the boys, you know, watching these movies and these kind of magazines and all this kind of stuff. It just seemed very normal. It's very normal. But at some point, I realized that I was addicted to sex and porn because it also gives you a dopamine fix to watch these images and then release, having this kind of orgasmic experience, and just kind of like goal oriented all the time. Like
Yeah.
the goal is to get to the orgasm, the goal is to get aroused. So it becomes like a mind thing, and it can actually take over your life. I mean, it's sad actually what I've seen or heard or seen documentaries about how it's affected some men's life, that they can't even come up to a woman and be with a woman. So for some people, it's so extreme, you know. Thank God I never had that problem, but I was literally addicted to sex, you know, which was actually causing problems in my early relationships because I was so much all the time about that and always needy and always wanting and always demanding so
Yeah.
much sex from my partner, and in that kind of way. And it was never satisfying because I would still look at magazines and all this other stuff, but there I have this beautiful woman, but still I'm going for all this more. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Yeah. So reclaiming that is to bring this conscious awareness, bring this I am into the sexuality, and looking at, okay, what do I truly feel about this, you know? Not any kind of input anywhere, just from my own deepest essence. Yeah. And then I discovered that there's different practices. Some people call Tantra. So there's also in Taoism, they also have the Tao of love and things like that. So these kind of things became really interesting for me. And then eventually I also met a beautiful woman that me and her, we had such energy that was really vibing. So I had an amazing experience with her where we could practice this together. And it felt so much more refreshing, energizing, revitalizing, and all these kind of things.
What is this practice?
So there's different practices, but again, this is so beautiful because we started with the breath and we'll continue with the breath.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
it's about breath awareness. It's about becoming aware of your breath and learning how to use your breath to circulate the energy instead. Because you know, in our with the sexual energy, it's mostly in our lower regions, and it kind of wants to get there to the full expression. We call it orgasm, yeah, and it
Yeah.
wants to get there really quickly. Woohoo, yeah, you know, and especially for men, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure both wants to get to that point as quickly as possible. But through the breath, we're slowing down. We're learning different techniques, using our breath to slow down and to really feel each other's energy much more, feel your own energy, and learn how to circulate this energy up and down, or maybe keep it in your heart space, which is then when you expand in your heart space, you can expand more and actually feel more love in giving, yeah, to your partner and feeling your partner. And it's more extended, and then you can extend to like full body orgasm without even needing to release from a
Yeah.
man's point of view. And same for a woman, she can experience much more waves of this orgasmic experience, and it goes on for much longer periods.
That's
I don't know,
amazing. Yeah.
longer, half an hour, 1.5 hours. I don't know. I've heard masters talk about hours and hours, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
I know in my experience, it lasts much, much longer.
I think it's a
Definitely.
really important topic, and more people have started talking about this because it is becoming a problem even in relationships, because your sexual life is affecting other spheres of your life. Um, Porn and so many other forms of entertainment and media that sort of bring that sort of crude exposure to sexual habits has just sort of ruined a good sexual experience. And I think it's so important that people understand the need for feeling to have that spiritual feeling of um, being loved and being accepted in that moment, because sex is not just sex. It's just the whole a wholesome sex is the experience is so much more about being in the moment, feeling everything, and and not just and not making it just about the orgasm, but the other aspects, the feel to it. I don't know, I think it's just such an important topic.
Mm,
And yeah, thanks for sharing. And
absolutely.
before we go, let's do like a little bit of the Enneagram personality thing that you um, know a lot about, and I have actually no idea about it, but I do know that Enneagram personality.
I know some.
Yeah, it's sort
Yes.
of like I think it sort of describes personality in terms of 9 types, and I think each is driven by their own set of like core emotions, fears, and beliefs. So yeah, tell us more about it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's fun. Yeah, thank you for sharing what you did there, wrapping it up. It was beautifully said. And big topics these, you know, we could go on and
I
on.
know.
Going to the Enneagram, I find Enneagram useful as a tool, just to see your own patterns. Again, what we talked about, the starting point of the I am, so being aware of being aware. So from that point, then bringing it into looking at in my life, okay, looking at these patterns that my ego has. So the ego has different fixations, and there's 9 different types of ego types. And so from the spirituality point of view, we use this as a tool, as like a self-help tool, you could say, because self-discovery, self-realization, yeah. And those 9 are, you can put them into 3 different groups. So you have 2, 3, and 4. They are one group, and they're called the emotional image types. And then, 5, 6, and 7, they are the mind types. They go in one group. And then the last 8, 9, and 1, they go into a group that's called body types. And each group have different core fixation. So which is our strategy, which is our avoidance thing. So I'm a 7, for example. So I'm a mind type. And a mind type, so I'm enthusiast, it's like, yeah, the enthusiast and very like variety type, loving and fun, loving, busy, and this kind of adventure kind of fixation, especially when I, was a teenager. It was full on all the time. It can also be very scattered, easily distractible. So the reason for that is because there's an avoidance of my core fixation. And the core fixation is essentially fear for all mind types. So mind types, they really need to look into this, becoming more still and being able to really look into your fear. What is your core fear? And, so here, I believe for the 7 is more like the fear of being harmed. So when I look deeper into that in a kind of meditative way, I start to move from unhealthy levels of 7 because I become aware, and I start to move to healthier levels of ego fixation, because the ego fixation will still play out to a certain degrees, but now it's playing out more healthy. And trust me, I've been in a very unhealthy levels, and I've caused a lot of harm to myself and others. And I had to do a lot of ho'oponopono for self-forgiveness and repentance on many things. But this has been a powerful tool for me to become aware of my patterns, my fixations, thus have compassion for myself, and also seeing it that others are working with their fixations. So I have an understanding and compassion for others, that often it's just these fixations playing out, and it's not ever anything personal, because we're just projecting our realities
That
on
is
each
really
other.
interesting. Yeah. That's really interesting because it gives you an idea of your personality type, and you get to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and where you can focus more and where you can divert
Yeah.
your attention. And how do we learn more about this sort of personality types? Like, is there any way that we can access it online or through you?
Yeah. It's quite simple. Like, I've learned it from a little bit more actually from different experiences, but there's also Brandon Base, this beautiful woman teacher. She has it part of her teaching. There's also Gangaji and Eli. They also have a part of their teaching, but it goes back in time. I believe, I don't know if it's Sumerian or Egypt. It just goes really way back in time, and then it's been kind of modified into a modern thing. But you can basically Google Enneagram, and you'll find the Enneagram Institute. And the Enneagram Institute, and I think there's another area where you can also do a test. So I recommend those tests. They're good. They could give you like a little bit more of an insight, but I still wouldn't kind of go and directly say, oh, I'm that one. I'd give it some more time. I would just study it a bit more and then become more aware, because at the end of the day, you will see and know what fixation you are. But again, not to get identified that as this is my new personality. Now, I've done that mistake as well, but basically for awareness kind of sake. Yeah. To
Yeah.
become aware of the patterns, use it as a tool for self-realization.
Yeah. Incredible. Thanks, Marco. I am blown away by all the things that we discussed today. They were amazing. I think we covered a
It was
lot,
fun.
a lot. Um, and I'm pretty sure the listeners and viewers are going to find it really helpful and resourceful, and will definitely take a lot of key lessons from this episode. Um, Thanks for doing this. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. And I hope you continue to, you know, be on your journey of healing and help others in your community. and keep coming on this
Yes.
podcast so that we can discuss more amazing spiritual techniques and practices. It was amazing having you on the show. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for having me. Absolutely. Yes to everything you said. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.